Is Derrick Pouliot a top-4 defenseman? Now playing for the Pittsburgh Penguins, he wasn't even a top-6. He was scratched to hell, and the Penguins organization didn't feel that it was appropriate to have him playing that 7th defenseman role, hence his extended period of time with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. And Pouliot, I mean, he technically has, 2 cups in the past 2 years? I mean, very, very technically. I don't even know if he counts to have his name be placed on the cup, but he did have his day with the cup as well. That's actually his Twitter, Instagram display picture, I'm pretty sure. But is Derrick Pouliot a top-4 defenseman? And if you're looking at Pouliot as a Penguin, absolutely not. However, if you're looking at Pouliot as a Canuck, you can say, yeah, for sure, he's the best defenseman on the Canucks. And there's an argument that's going around recently talking about how Pouliot is only being defined as a top-4 defenseman because he's on the Canucks, and because he's not playing with the Penguins anymore. If he was still on the Penguins, he wouldn't be a top-4. Or if he was on any other team, he wouldn't be a top-4. But just because he's with the Canucks, then he's a top-4. And I disagree with this. I believe that Pouliot was scratched in Pittsburgh for a reason. And if you take a look at who Pouliot is, at the time he was a 21, 22-year-old defenseman, and he simply wasn't being treated well by the Penguins organization. Every time he got a turnover, that's when he would get benched. Every time he did something wrong, that's when everyone would start to rip on him. Pittsburgh was not a good city to Derrick Pouliot. And it started to build up, you know? You started to see him get played less. You started to see other guys get played more. You guys got Ian Cole and Ben Lovejoy playing more. Even Ruhwedel this season, they got placed over Pouliot. And, you know, Pens fans, they were saying, you know, Pouliot, he doesn't have a future here. He's not excelling within our system. He's not being put in a position where he's able to excel. We're sending him up and down between the NHL's Penguins team and the AHL's Penguins team, and he's not being given an opportunity here. We're taking a look at the other guys we got. We got Ruhwedel, Ian Cole, Lovejoy at the time, and these guys are all better than Pouliot in terms of how they mesh with our system. So, anybody on the outside, any team, any fan base other than the Penguins organization and fan base looking in on this situation, they could just be like, oh, Pouliot's just not a good player. That's why he's not being played. That's why he's in the AHL. Pouliot is not a good player. He's not an NHL player. If he was an NHL player, he'd be able to play over guys like Ian Cole and Ruhwedel and Ben Lovejoy. So, Pouliot gets dealt over to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for Andrey Pedan. The Penguins get their waiver uneligible defenseman, so, you know, it's all good for them. They can send Pedan up and down whenever they need to. And the Canucks get Pouliot. And initially starting things out, he was playing with Ben Hutton, and things weren't really that good. I mean, Ben Hutton and Pouliot was like the worst defensive pairing on the team for the first few games. Then things got switched around, Pouliot found his way a little bit more, and then he got placed on a line with Alex Edler, and that is when we really started to see the Derrick Pouliot that the Pittsburgh Penguins wanted to see for ages. And he's been trending upwards. I mean, he's been getting so much better as this season has progressed. And Pouliot is genuinely like the best defenseman on the Vancouver Canucks today. And, you know, that's not really that much of an achievement. I mean, we have good defensemen in Chris Tanev and whatnot, but in terms of the all-around game, Pouliot is probably the best. He's contributed offensively in a position that Tanev hasn't really, because Tanev is a stay-at-home defenseman. And in terms of defense and giveaways and all that, the eye test really does show that Pouliot is one of the better defensemen on the team. It's him and Tanev who don't really give the puck up as much as they could. And there's still this stigma going around Derrick Pouliot saying that, yeah, well, he's a top-4 in Vancouver because Vancouver sucks, they don't have any good defensemen. Okay, you could make that argument, but Is it really fair to say that the Derrick Pouliot that the Vancouver Canucks have on their team is still the Derrick Pouliot that the Pittsburgh Penguins would have scratched in favor for guys like Ian Cole, Ben Lovejoy, Ruhwedel, just going back throughout the years, you know? Is it really fair to say that we'd rather have a guy like Ian Cole on our team than Derrick Pouliot? And Ian Cole, he's still a defenseman for the Penguins, he's the top 6, and saying that you'd rather have a guy like Ian Cole over Pouliot today at this moment is absolutely absurd, because Pouliot has stepped his game up incredibly to a level where the Vancouver Canucks management is like, yeah, we trust you, we want you to play. This is no longer the same Derrick Pouliot that wasn't excelling over the system that was trying to be enforced upon him. This is not the Derrick Pouliot that is getting sent up and down from the NHL to the AHL, trying to quote-unquote find his stride. Because Derrick Pouliot has found his stride already, and he's one of the best Vancouver Canucks defensemen on the team. And anybody who's saying that, oh well, he would be a scratch on any other team because the Canucks suck, you're not watching the games. You're not seeing just how much this kid has improved. And I want to say that word a lot, improvement, because he has improved. This is no longer the same Pouliot that is not as good or as reliable as Ian Cole. Because if you're saying to yourself, I'd rather have Ian Cole in the Canucks than Derrick Pouliot, then you're lying. Because Ian Cole is not as good as Pouliot at the moment. Sure, maybe even back then, last year, earlier this season, 2 years ago, you would have said, okay, the Penguins are better off with Cole in the lineup than Pouliot. But that's because he wasn't meshing with the system. Pouliot wasn't given any opportunities. Pouliot wasn't put in a position where he was sat down and he was said, okay, this is your chance, this is how you're going to improve. Because Pouliot was just getting scratched. He was just getting benched. He was just getting sent down to the AHL. He wasn't given that opportunity to prove that he was better than guys like Ian Cole and Ben Lovejoy, even Ruhwedel. So I don't want to say that the Penguins kind of screwed Pouliot over because, I mean, Pouliot's playing really well for the Canucks. I think it'd be unfair to say that he's been screwed over for the rest of his career. But I think it is fair to say that the Penguins did not allow Pouliot to prosper into the player that he is today. Because the Vancouver Canucks we're a weak team. And we needed players to step up. And that's what we got this season. We got guys like Brock Besser stepping up. We got Bo Horvat, he's stepping up too. We got guys like Derrick Pouliot coming in, stepping up. We got guys like Goldolbin stepping up. This season is all about taking the younger guys who have long futures in the NHL and telling them, this is your chance, you need to step up today. And Derrick Pouliot, who's been coached by Travis Green before, so he's familiar with these systems, he's taken that opportunity, and he's said, okay, this is the player I want to be, and this is the player I can be. Take a look at what he's doing now. He had 3 points against the Hurricanes in the most previous 2 games. He's the first defenseman in points, tied with Michael Del Zotto with 10 points in 26 games. So, Derrick Pouliot is a player who is improving. And that is awesome, because this is the player that we wanted to see come out of Pittsburgh. We wanted to see this young guy from Saskatchewan or whatever improve under the NHL game. And we wanted to see him get a good NHL career because, well, he was drafted pretty high, and he has that potential to be a really good player in the NHL. It's just that the Penguin system didn't allow him to become better. So, saying that Pouliot is only a top 4 because he's on the Canucks is unfair, because players can improve. Players can actually become better with a change of scenery and whatever. It's happened with guys before. It's happened with PK Subban. It's happened with Malcolm Subban. I don't know if it's going to happen with Jordan Subban, but it's happened before. And we've seen guys who haven't been able to play under their system excel under different systems, and Pouliot is exactly one of those players. So Derrick Pouliot, he's a good player. He's a top 4 defenseman. I don't know if you'd say in the league, but for the Vancouver Canucks, he definitely is a top 4 defenseman. League round, I'd say that he's probably a guaranteed defenseman, and he's no longer that guy who is the scratched 7th defenseman getting sent up and down between the AHL and the NHL, and being benched in favor for guys like Ian Cole. Hope you guys enjoyed this video for Passing National Show, Gaming, and bye.